Will the Seattle Mariners and Boston Red Sox finally make a trade this offseason? Let's talk about it. So yesterday, there were tons of active discussions on the Seattle Mariners and Boston Red Sox possibly discussing a trade. There was many tweets about this, but I'm going to put up the one about John Morosi where he said the Red Sox, even after the Crochet trade, are working to acquire one of the Mariners' starting pitchers. And I can't say that I'm surprised by this news because the Boston Red Sox have been trying to get one of these Seattle Mariners starting pitchers since last offseason and as we know this offseason. But there is a lot going on in the communities across the Red Sox and the Mariners that are just not making sense, and I want to talk about some of those things today. But first, let's kind of get a little bit deeper into what the Seattle Mariners are trying to do with Luis Castillo, at least according to reports. Even Adam Jude from the Seattle Times has said that Boston has been persistent in its pursuit of one of the Seattle Mariners starters. And he added the fact that I feel like most fans probably know is that if they were to make a trade, obviously Luis Castillo to the Red Sox for first baseman Triston Casas would seem to make sense for both sides. But one thing that was super interesting is there was somebody in the Boston Red Sox community, Alex Spire, who covers the Boston Red Sox for the Boston Globe, said that he asked the source if there were legs to a deal involving Triston Casas for Luis Castillo. He wrote on social media, and the answer was straightforward no. Now, I think it's definitely safe to say that this interest on the Mariners side is not as high as it is on the Red Sox side. That is one of the main reasons that this deal will most likely not get done. But like I said, we'll get into that a little bit later, but there was also a report from Mike Rodriguez over on Twitter that said, according to my sources, Luis Castillo is being proposed to several teams in a possible trade. It is almost a certainty that the Mariners will trade him. The Yankees, Red Sox, Mets, Phillies, and Cubs are some of the teams that have shown interest. So what's very interesting about this is not too long ago, Jerry Dipoto and Justin Hollander said that their main goal is to not touch a single starting pitcher, but it seems with their confidence extremely high on getting Roki Sasaki into a Mariners uniform, Luis Castillo most likely will be the one on the trading block. So out of the teams on this list, I do not believe that the Mariners and Red Sox probably match up the best for a trade. A, because the Red Sox are most likely not going to give up what the Mariners are going to be asking for. And B, I don't really know if there's too many players on the Red Sox. And as we know, they obviously have really good prospects, but I don't know if there's two MLB ready players that the Mariners are going to really be interested in. And before Red Sox fans yell at me, Triston Casas and Wilyer Abreu does not really make sense for the Mariners because we already have an outfield stacked. But like I said, I'll get into the Red Sox portion a little bit later in the video. But one thing that was also interesting that came out yesterday is Ryan Divish had said that the Mariners are hoping to close a deal with Carlos Santana within the next week. Now, this is interesting for a number of reasons because, as we know, if the Seattle Mariners are going to make a trade with the Boston Red Sox with Luis Castillo involved, they're most likely going to try to get Triston Casas out of it. And as we know, Triston Casas is a first baseman, and so is Carlos Santana, which is another reason why I believe a team like the Philadelphia Phillies or Chicago Cubs line up with the Seattle Mariners much more for a trade for Luis Castillo because those teams have more players of need that the Mariners need to fill positions such as second base and third base. Now, one thing that is also being discussed a lot in Mariners world is it extremely frustrating that we even have to touch a starting pitcher. And yes, the value of starting pitching in this market is clearly going up, as we've seen with Max Fried, Luis Severino, and a few other guys. Garrett Crochet, the Boston Red Sox gave up 4 prospects in their number 4, number 5, number 11, and number 14 in their farm system to get Crochet. So the pitching market is definitely very high right now. So I can almost kind of understand the idea of getting rid of someone like Luis Castillo while his value is definitely really high. And as we know, Luis Castillo is still a solid pitcher at this league. But I'm sure there's going to be some Boston Red Sox fans watching this video. And here's going to be my reason why Luis Castillo for Triston Casas is not a good deal for the Seattle Mariners. And you're going to disagree with me. I know you are because I seen it all over X yesterday. But I don't know in what world where you think Triston Casas' value is more valuable than Luis Castillo. So yes, Triston Casas has a lot of team control, and after his rookie year where he put together a legit season, in 502 plate appearances, he had 24 home runs, 65 RBIs, a 263 batting average, a 130 WRC plus, and a 1.7 WAR. So yeah, there's no doubt that is a legit rookie season that he had back in 2023, and obviously you guys are still paying him very cheap. But you're also forgetting in 2024, he only played in 62 games due to injuries. So, the Mariners are already injury prone enough. I do not believe they need another injury prone player. And don't get me wrong, in those 63 games that he played, he did pretty well. He put up 13 home runs, 32 RBIs, a 241 batting average, and a 119 WRC plus. That is pretty legit for only 62 games. But I'm a little bit confused on why we are undermining the skill of Luis Castillo, who has been one of the most reliable and durable pitchers in Major League Baseball since 2017. Since 2021, Luis Castillo is tied for 9th in Major League Baseball in innings pitched. So like I said, Luis Castillo is one of the most durable and reliable pitchers there is. And obviously that is a massive knock on wood for his case. I do that every time because I don't want to jinx him. Sure, Luis Castillo definitely did not have his best season in 2024, but he is still putting up, he only had a 3.64 ERA and a 2.3 WAR. So he is still a very solid pitcher. If we had been discussing Luis Castillo for Rafael Devers straight up, I can see why Boston Red Sox fans would be so angry, but I don't understand what, yes, Triston Casas has a very high upside. There's no doubt about that. But at the end of the day, he's a glorified prospect who has had one legit season. Luis Castillo almost has more games started as a pitcher than Triston Triston Casas does as a position player. And obviously that would be a fact because Luis Castillo has been in the league much longer, but that is just saying Triston Casas is not that developed of an MLB ready player. Yes, like I said, he's done very well in his time at the major league level, but he can't really stay healthy so far. So like I said, I'm sure Boston Red Sox fans will not agree with us, but I think that's just a matter of how it is. I think Luis Castillo for Triston Casas and another player from the Red Sox, maybe that's a relief player, like maybe give us Isaiah Campbell back. I don't know, whatever the case may be, but that is a very fair trade for both sides. But I do think the Red Sox need to throw in a little bit more. And I do believe if you think the Mariners have to throw in more, then you need to look more into who Luis Castillo is. And shout out to your boy Big Nell over on X, who posted this when the Red Sox fans were complaining that Luis Castillo is still old and he's not a very good pitcher anymore. So in quality starts since the start of 2022, George Kirby has 51, Logan Gilbert has 56, Luis Castillo has 53, Dylan Cease has 44, Garrett Cole has 53, Max Fried has 44, and Aaron Nola has 53. And he also mentions the idea that Luis Castillo is some number 3 on a bad deal is laughable. And I'm going to have to strongly agree with him here. Luis Castillo, like I said, is still one of the better starters in Major League Baseball. He's not, he's not going to be the best pitcher in all of baseball ever again, probably, but he is still a legit pitcher. If I said to the Boston Red Sox right now, I will give you Dylan Cease for Triston Casas or Garrett Cole for Triston Casas, I bet you not a single one of them complains. And Luis Castillo has 9 more quality starts since 2022 than Dylan Cease does. As well as Max Fried, who just signed a massive contract with the New York Yankees for $218 million. So yes, in my personal opinion, Luis Castillo and Triston Casas for a deal makes perfect sense. And as you can see, I don't really understand what this tweet was even going for. I would consider Kirby and Castillo for Casas plus, but nothing short of that. I know they would say no. Like, obviously they would say no to that. Kirby and Luis Castillo. Respectfully, it doesn't make sense if you're going to undermine these starting pitchers on the Seattle Mariners. I mean, at least add some more value in return. In what century would George Kirby and Luis Castillo for Triston Casas and maybe some prospects make any sense for Seattle? But for a number of reasons, as you can tell, I do not believe that the Boston Red Sox and Seattle Mariners will make a deal for a starting pitcher, as well as other players that the Boston Red Sox might want to give up for a starting pitcher. I just don't see the deal getting done, and I think the Seattle Mariners should really wait a little bit and line it up with a team that has more of what they're looking for. There's no need to rush, as there are still a bunch of free agent pitchers out on the market that are probably going to get massive deals, which will only make the value of our starting pitchers go up. So I can see why this trade has absolutely no legs to it, because it really just doesn't make sense. I don't really see the teams do match up in terms of, obviously the Mariners need a first baseman and the Boston Red Sox want another starting pitcher, but I really don't see how they have enough value to come back and get Luis Castillo. And if you're talking about his contract, we all know the Boston Red Sox can afford it, so that's really not an excuse to why the Luis Castillo contract is bad. But nonetheless, definitely very interesting to see all of this action in the Mariners and Boston Red Sox world yesterday. So maybe the teams line up for a trade. I just personally do not see it going forward. But please let me know what you guys think of all this information. Yesterday was a pretty active day with a lot of rumors swirling around, especially with this Luis Castillo stuff being out. But otherwise, I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.